Yeah.
outside.
Yeah.
So you probably vendors in by appointment only. No cold.
The bus. The bus.
So you're gonna take the seats off?
Huh?
You're gonna take all the seats off,
Yeah.
right?
Okay, guys, I just dropped it off at this dealer. This very good shop. There are really great reviews online. It's called Coleman here in Greensville, where I purchased the bus. There she is. Yeah, let me just show you guys inside. I got my bag in there, so I have to get it. Also, this vehicle does not turn red. I did, though. It's pretty good. Apparently, I thought like these were bald because, I don't know, they don't look like regular tires, but the guy telling me that this is the actual tread and that they're actually really good. So I was like, oh, good to know. Diesel. It's a little rust spot right there, but not bad. Gonna get my bag. They said it'll be done this afternoon. It's 11 now, but then they'll give me a call once it's done. Oh, so there's, here, let me show you guys. So it's right now it's got 11 seats in it because it is a wheelchair accessible. So those are the batteries I had to switch out. And that would be where the wheelchair goes. It's not super big, but it's good. Oh, that's another thing. You see there? He told me after I brought it, obviously, that the sunroof was broken. So he said while you drive, you got to take it off so it doesn't fly off. And they told me to make sure I take the sunroof while I drive off because it wasn't latched on and they didn't want them to fly off. So that's the bus. I took off the sunroof so I can get here. You know, it's a pretty rough ride. I will say that. I wasn't expecting. I did hear a lot of people say it's a little bumpy and that it goes slow. But I was like not expecting it to be as bumpy as it was, and it was very bumpy. And also as I was pushing the gas, it didn't seem to go very fast, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with it. But I guess I don't know if it took some time to warm up or what, but once it kind of like warmed up a little bit, it was a lot better to be able to get it going. So that's the bus. Good morning. I'm on day 2 of I Bought a Bus. So I can't make up what happened yesterday. It's like, you know, Murphy's Law, and you try not to me particularly, I kind of try to roll with the punches, take things as they come, and deal. So I'm very grateful of, just about my day-to-day stuff. Like I've been through some stuff in life, and I know that rock bottom can be much low than where I am right now. Especially with this whole coronavirus stuff, it's like we have so much to be thankful for. That we have so much just to be alive. We have so much to be thankful for, and whatever your beliefs are about coronavirus, people are in fact dying, and they are blaming the coronavirus. So at this point, I'm very fortunate to be alive. So anyway, back to what happened. My wonderful trip on my bus. So here I am at a gas station. Yesterday, when I purchased the bus, I took it to a mechanic to inspect it to make sure it was safe to drive home. The mechanic gave me the okay. They did tell me there were a few things that needed to be fixed. You know, one of them was the light switch, because when on a bus, when you turn the light on, what you do is you pull it, right, to turn it on. And so, hold on, I'm gonna get in the bus because I've got a lot of people staring at me here because I'm just standing on the side of the road. So, 1 second. Okay, I'm back. So, let me recap everything I said just in case that other video didn't get saved. So, I bought a bus yesterday, and it was on November 20th, 2020. And it was told that it was in running condition. It just needed a battery. Okay, I got it very, very inexpensive. So there's that. And so I'll just say it was under $3,000. Well, when I get here, I see why. Well, when I get to right this little town, Greensville, right outside of Dallas, it's an older bus. It's a 1998, and it was used after it was sold from the school district. Apparently, it was being used in the bus terminal where the buses go. I'm sure there's a name for it. I just can't think of it because my brain is pretty much overload right now. So they were just using it as a spare bus to move parts and things like that. So. Okay, it has a lot of miles, so 200,000 miles on it. It's a diesel engine. I did a little research on the engines and apparently the D444, T444 engines are actually pretty okay as long as they've been well maintained, and they're before the year 2001, I believe. 1998, it's a 22-year-old bus, so it's very dusty, obviously. And, I just wanted to make sure it was safe to drive from right outside of Dallas to Houston. I wanted to be responsible. I don't want to hurt myself or anybody else in the process. So I took it to right in the same town, Greensville. I took it to a diesel mechanic that had really good ratings online. So I asked them, hey, would you be able to inspect this vehicle and just tell me in what condition it's in, if it's safe to actually drive all the way to Houston, And like, definitely, we'll charge you for an hour of her time, and we'll give her the look over. We'll tell you if it's safe or not, and we'll see what we found. Okay? So I'm like, perfect, At the least, I will have spent a little under $3,000 of this hard-earned money that I have, and that's not a little bit of money for me, at least. I see some people converting their buses, and they're like $20,000 deep. I'm like, ah! But for me, it's a substantial amount of money as a single mother. So, but still, it's still less than if I were to have an accident, something were to happen to me or someone else. The cost of somebody's life is much more than that. So I went ahead and I paid their time for them to inspect it. They told me mechanically everything's good. You're gonna make it. You definitely should make it to Houston. Mind you, I dropped it off in the morning and they called me at 4:30 right before they closed. Okay, and so I was in this weird small little town. Couldn't get an Uber. Couldn't get a Lyft. Luckily, this is why I'm saying, life is too short to be upset or angry at little things, and to be grateful, because people are so kind when you allow them to be. And what I mean by that is not like, oh, hey, be nice to me. No, you have to be open. You know what I mean? Because sometime in my past, people used to say that I look mean, and it was because I was hurt and I was in pain, and I was angry, because of things that had happened in my life, and I walked around serious, and my serious face is apparently resting bee face, and I was like, don't talk to me. Apparently that was my face. So people didn't talk to me. And you know, you get what you ask for. So through a lot of therapy, a meditation, some other types of healing practices, I was able to change. And not only that, surprisingly enough, when I started getting an education, I took a couple of psychology classes, and the first thing that I learned there was that personal psychology was just to smile. You know, your brain doesn't know the difference. You know, it's like if you're, even if you do that for 10 minutes, your brain, it just kind of switches. Oh, we must be happy now. And you know what's funny is, like, at first I'm like, that can't work. You know, come on. How's that gonna work? You know, my life is shit. And I'm just gonna smile for 10 minutes and everything's just gonna be okay. Yeah, actually, yeah. So I started practicing gratefulness, because that's really what it is. Because you can't just smile and be like, that's not real. In order to, like, smile and feel it, you have to, like, think about things you're grateful for. Even if everything's falling apart, you know, you're alive, you're breathing, you're healthy. You know, if you're a little overweight like me, I was very overweight before. When I started my journey of healing, I was like 320 pounds. I was like, hey, at least I can eat. You know, there's people starving. You know, I have running water. I don't have to go days without electricity sometimes. And that alone, believe it or not, in America we forget that that is actually a blessing. There's people all over the world that don't have that. Okay. So I've gone into a tangent about being happy because where I'm trying to be right now. So anyway, get the bus. Everything's good. I start driving. You know, this is my first time driving a bus too. So just in case you're not aware of that, I've never driven a bus. Because it's not a huge bus, I don't need a CDL license in my state. And so I'm like, okay, let's do this. You know, I've driven big trucks before, not huge 18-wheelers, but like box trucks when I've moved. You know, I've had to do that for myself. And I'm like, just a little bit bigger, right? Not the same, people. Not the same. And believe me, I'm the kind of person, I am very spontaneous. And I like to go, see, this is what I'm talking about. This is why I got in the bus. Like, this car is just like right there, parked, staring at me. Okay. So, not the same, okay? Not the same. Very much different. And let me explain how. I don't know if this is just this bus but I don't think so, because I've read a lot of stuff and I knew people had said that when you are in a bus, you know, it's like slow. You go slow, right? And it can be a little bumpy. Well, it is very bumpy. When I say very bumpy, I mean kind of bumpy, okay? That kind of bumpy, okay? And when I say slow, you know, it's like if you've ever tried to drive in neutral, it doesn't go. And I don't know if initially I was scared, because when I first picked it up from the bus station, and very first thing I did was drive it only like maybe 5 or 10 minutes around the corner to where the mechanic was, a diesel mechanic. And I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? What did I buy? It's not going. And it took a minute, I guess, to warm up, or I don't know what it did, but it just was going so slow. But the wonderful thing is that I kept driving it. It kind of like loosened up, or I don't know what the terms are. But so like at first you have to push the gas. I guess, you know, I know mechanics or whatever, people who know more than I am are gonna be like, oh, that's the pistons and the gears, and I don't know. But if you know, please tell me, because I'm just curious. I'm sure after this, once I get back to civilization. I will look into it even more and see if maybe that's just something that needs to be done to the vehicle itself. But it's slow. But then once I started driving a little bit, I guess when you go from like 0 to like 10, it's like really, like you gotta push it, and then once you get going a little bit in that gear or whatever, it like something goes and it like propels you off a little bit faster. And the crazy thing is, it makes this sound that, swear to God, it sounds like somebody's turning their sirens on. I kept looking like, oh shit, I'm getting pulled over, because mind you, the other great thing is I couldn't get a paper tag because the city where I purchased it, where I purchased the bus was in one county, and where I live is another county, and where I picked up the bus was a different county. So the only way I can register is either in the county that I purchased the bus, which was like 2 hours away, or the county I live in, which is 4 hours away. So when I talked to the tax office in that county that I was in, they said just take the paperwork with you, where you bought it from, and I put insurance on it, so that's I went with Progressive after I saw a lot of people post about it. And that's only temporary, obviously, until as long as it's a bus that's being used for personal use. Because when I called a few times their insurance companies, I told them that it's a bus I'm using for personal use, and I made the mistake of saying, because eventually I want to convert it. They were like, oh no, and I can't talk to you no more. They're on a recorded line. I was like, whoa, what the hell? So then I realized, maybe not say that, because it's still a bus and I haven't quite started converting it, or who knows how long it's gonna take me, right? So I'm not being deceitful. I'm just using alternate facts, or like, as they like to say, or omitting certain facts. If they didn't ask me, are you converting it? I'm not gonna say, you know what, I'm converting this bus. So I learned that. So I got insurance on the vehicle, and as long as I get pulled over, I'll be okay, they said. I'm like, all right, cool. But every time I pushing that gas, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm being pulled over. Excuse my French, I'll probably have to bleep that. But yeah, so that was the ride, and I'm like, okay. So it went up to 45, which I'm like, okay, at this point, I'm so much traffic, and I'm new to this, so that's okay. It's okay, So I kept getting flashed, though. That was the weird thing. I kept getting flashed, and I thought, maybe it's these, like, I was reading one of the one of the forums. They were like, I need to update my 1998 lights, because I might as well have paper lanterns on the front of them. And I was like, yes, paper lanterns, exactly how you can describe the lights on this bus. But I was like, maybe they can't tell that they're on. So okay, I keep driving, and then I get to a really dark part of the highway, and I'm like, okay. And all of a sudden, it got really dark, like pitch black. And I realized my lights had turned off. So, instant panic, and then instant stop panicking, because you can't panic with this ton, of vehicle under you. Tons of vehicle under you. You can't panic, That's what you can't do. So I turned my hazards lights on. Luckily, they were bright enough. Those turned on. And I was like slowing down. And then when I was slowing down, I saw that the brake lights weren't turning on, because still pitch black behind me. So that's probably why they were flashing their lights at me and looking at me like I was crazy. It wasn't my paper lantern headlights. It was the non-lights in the back, which in my inspection said one of them was out, not all of them. So luckily, but this is why I say, you have to be grateful, whether if you believe in the God, a universe, a higher self, whatever you want to call it. There was somebody, or something, I should say, looking out for me, because You know, if you've ever driven in Texas, you know you can go miles and miles and miles and miles and miles without an exit. Like, you can drive through like cities, and you're like, how the hell do people get on this highway? They don't, you know. So yeah, I just got lucky because as soon as it happened, there was an exit, and I took that exit. And right after the exit, like as soon as you had the exit, there was a gas station. I was like, thank you, Lord. You know, thank you. Higher being, universe, whatever. Thank you. You know, and pulled in, and on the side of his, excuse me, it's a little dusty in here. There's like, on the side of the gas station, there's a huge spot where the bus fits exactly. And I'll show you guys before I get out of here. Parked there. I fiddled around with the like, the little stick that you pull to turn the light on, which, you know, I knew that when I pulled the stick, the guy told me, he's like, if you pull the stick too much, it comes out, but the lights turn on, so it's fine. And I'm like, okay, well, that can get fixed, right? Fiddled around with the switch. I read a forum where somebody happened, the same thing happened to them, and they're like, I just punched it and it fixed. I punched it. I did. It didn't work. I found this little fuse box area. I kind of like jabbed at the little fuses to see if maybe it got knocked loose, because it was a little bit of a rough ride. And nothing worked. So, you know, like I said, the amount of money I've spent already is pretty significant. So $1,000 toll bill is just, you know, not feasible for me. Okay. I mean, and if in the case of an emergency where I had to get towed, okay. But if I'm able to park somewhere and just like stay there for a bit, I'm going to do that. And so that's what I did. You know, thank goodness that I not only have, that's my little switches. Thank goodness not only have I, you know, done a lot of research and read a lot about it and seen so many videos of great people on YouTube and Skoolie, the whole Skoolie family. And which I realized that I could, since I have to spend the night in the bus, my first day with the bus, I spent the night in it. Because I said, you know what? I can just take the bus, sleep in it, and then drive it in the morning with lights, right? Boom. So I'm like sitting here thinking like, man, it's going to be uncomfortable. And I'm like, okay, well, man, this is going to be uncomfortable. What can I do, right? So what I decided to do was, because I seen all these videos of people pulling out the seats and stuff, I knew that the cushions could be pulled out fairly easily. If there's not a lever, usually all you have to do is like wiggle it a little. And these older seats, literally, I remember being little and like tipping in it and the seat tipping forward. So I'm like, oh yeah, I definitely can get these seats out, right? So that's what I did. I took some seats out, and here, I'm going to show you guys. So I took some seats out, right? Right? Took the seats out, and I laid them out right here, as you can see. I took this paper here from the gas station. You see, you know, the gas stations have those little things over there where you can get paper. So I got that paper, and I like wiped them down, because as you can see, they're very dusty. And so I made this bed here with the seats, and then as I'm making the bed, I'm like, man, it's dusty and it's gonna be gross, but whatever. Then I like, what's this thing here? Fire blanket. Opened it up, and the sweet blanket was inside. I'm like, holy crap. And you know what? It's really soft. It's not as rough as it looks, because it does look like rough prison blanket or something like that. I don't know. Not that I've ever been to prison. Only a holding tank. And I laid the blanket out on top of there, and I laid on top of it. And then used my little book bag there that I had with my clothes in it from the trip up to Dallas. And I used that as a pillow. And then I took my sweater to cover up that little hole there. And I used also another cushion too. I couldn't get the other cushions out, or else I just would have used 2 cushions, but I couldn't. And then I just like, and then I had slept on top of it initially, right? Then it got cold. Oh my God. And you know what's funny? Is that I thought about why people do why do they do such heavy what's the word I'm looking for? Insulation. Yeah, I said it. Why people do such heavy installation in these things, right? I'm like, man, I'm sure it has some kind of installation, No. It is cold. This bus got cold. Like, cold. I guess it's because of the metal partness of it, Oh, does you hear that? That bad boy was cold. So I took that fire blanket, laid on the dusty cushions, and I called it a night, Now it's about 7:30 in the morning here. Honestly, I don't know where here is yet. I haven't turned my GPS on, haven't looked, because I just woke up in a bus. Unfinished bus. And, yeah. So, I was very grateful. I didn't just park here and not say anything. I parked here, I went inside, and I talked to the gas station. So I went inside, I talked to the gas station attendant, and I told them, hey, look, this is what happened. My bus is there. They're like, oh my goodness. I'm like, I'm just going to stay there until I figure out what to do, which I figured I was going to stay here, So, I went back in there this morning. He was still there. And I was like, I told him, hey, hi, I'm still here. He's like, oh no, you're still here. I'm so sorry. He was the nicest guy. Shout out to guy at the gas station at the Shell somewhere in the middle between Dallas and Houston. There's a Sonic cereal. That's all I know. Sonic Shell gas station. And he was a sweet guy, He's like, yeah, don't worry about it. If the police come and question, I'll let them know you're my friend. I'm like, oh, I'm your friend. You are my friend. Thank you. So, and, a story isn't complete without the icing on the cake. So, last night, it got so cold, I'm shivering, and I had a little tooth pain. I didn't have tooth pain. I felt like a weird feeling in my tooth. Like anytime I eat sugar, which I try to cut sugar out, but occasionally I'll have like a candy or something, like not a hard candy, but like a chocolate. That's my vice. Chocolate. I love chocolate. So anytime I had chocolate, it's weird, like hollow feeling in my tooth. I'm like, that's weird. It's like I'm chewing on sand. That can't be good, right? So last night, I guess, it got cold, and I'm like clenching my teeth, and a piece of my tooth broke off. I had a filling in there, and that filling was like, I don't know, I would say maybe like 15 years old. Apparently fillings will only last about 10 years, 10, 15 years. So, I understand that happens, but what I didn't anticipate was the filling to ultimately break my tooth. It was just a little corner of it. But yeah, it's there. And I know these teeth aren't the brightest white you've ever seen, but I actually do take care of my teeth. I lived in a town that had a lot of fluoride in their water, which causes yellow stains in your enamel, and it can't be fixed. So, even if I bleach it, what will happen is all my teeth will look white, and that yellow spots will look even yellower. So, I do what I can and live with it, and that's okay. I brush my teeth every day, and I try to keep up with my oral hygiene. I should have went when I first started feeling that weird feeling but I didn't, you know. So, yeah, it's been a good day. It's been a good 24 hours. But, you know, some of this stuff, I did read a lot about, you know, to expect the unexpected and to, you know, try to roll with the punches. You know, having a schoolie isn't cheap, you know, and I'm seeing it's true. It's not deterring me from wanting to move forward with the process, because I think I've been very fortunate up until now, you know, so I'm grateful for that. And I haven't left quite yet because, as you can see here, let's see, let me zoom in. It's very foggy today, and drivers are still driving with their lights on. So they did say that there's going to be a little bit potential chances of rain. And so, you know, there's a heavy mist. So I'm just praying that it'll get a little sunny and I'll be okay. I mean, I could probably drive without lights. I'm sure there are some cars that are driving without lights, you know. But I'm going to turn the car on. I'm going to turn the bus on. Check the gas, the diesel. And that I haven't done yet. See, that's something that I'm probably going to have to do and figure out. I don't know if I can fit under the things. I think I can. Looks like I can. Yeah. Put some diesel in there. And get back on the road. You know? And I'm sure it's going to be okay. And if it's not, well, I'm sure you'll find out. If not in this video, the next. Yeah. So I'm fine. Everything's fine. We're fine. Now where are we? Oh. Another couple things that I didn't know were wrong with the bus. That the person who sold it did. So, you know how the little roof hatch? All the buses have them. This one has two, which will be nice because I'll have two nice little moon roofs in the future. And it's dusty. Oh, my nose is just. Well, as I was pulling off, the guy runs over to the bus. He's like, "Oh wait, you're gonna want to take this hatch off because you don't want it to blow away because it's broken." So he took the moon thing off, right? And mind you, I hadn't pulled off yet. And so, because when the moon hatches, why do I keep calling it that? When the roof hatch is off or open, you know, some of you Skoolie people might know this, it makes a terrible buzzing sound to like alert you. It's terrible. It's like that, right? And so I had initially I put a little piece of tape on it, and it's a rough ride, so apparently the tape came off. And I'm driving and it's just making a sound, right? So then I'm like, I can't do this, right? Can't. So then I pulled over. Lights were still on at this point, right? Because I've drove maybe about an hour. And maybe an hour and a half. I don't know. It was going so slow. Got stuck in some terrible traffic right outside of Dallas. Terrible traffic. So then I pulled over. And here, let me show you what I did. I'm very resourceful, you know. And I found some weird thing here. Let me show you. It's back here now. Oh, it's not back here. Oh, yes, it is. I found this in the bus. I used this to cut a seatbelt. And then I took the seatbelt. Oh, and that reminds me, I gotta take this hatch out. Oh, let me show you what I did. Took the seatbelt. And I have to take this hatch out anyway because it's gonna blow off once I try to drive. Oh, condensation. Ah, okay. Right. Excellent. Get a little light in here going. So, right in here, I don't know if that's a good view or not. There's a little button in there. So I took the seatbelt, tied it around the button. Took the seatbelt, tied it around the button, and it finally stopped that horrific beeping. I mean, it was the worst sound that you've ever heard in your life. Another thing that was interesting was it came with cameras. Cameras all over. Came with a little radio, I was hoping that it would come with one of those cool FM radios, or not FM, you know what I'm talking about, those, yeah, roger that, radios. It didn't though, but that's okay. Came with a radio, so that'll do. Ooh, let me close the windows, it's kind of getting chilly in here now. Now that I have both windows open. So yeah. That's me and my adventures so far. And I gotta go fix that sweater, take that sweater down on that seat so it doesn't look like a homeless person in the van, or bus. So yeah, that's how far I've gotten so far. I drove like maybe 2 hours. I'll say 2 hours. But only got like maybe 30 minutes to an hour away from Dallas. One, because of traffic. It's so dusty in here. Oh my gosh. I just feel it like coating my esophagus and my nose canal. It's like grainy little dust. And yeah. So we'll see what happens now. I'm positive though. I'm still hopeful for the trip. Very rough trip. And actually I was looking over the paperwork when he did the inspection, and he put rides rough. So maybe it's not just the experience on the bus, it's just probably this bus maybe needs new shocks or something. I don't know. We'll find out, won't we? I'm still grateful. Don't ever stop being grateful, because if you are living, you're breathing, you're healthy or relatively healthy, if you are able to wake up and move around freely, you're able to get up, you are more fortunate than a lot of people. Okay? So things will happen in life, that's life. I mean, wouldn't it be boring if everything were the same all the time? Then you'd be upset because everything's the same all the time and you're just bored of being bored, So think about that. When your circumstances are down and things go wrong, it's just, that's life. That's the adventure that is life. I've been stuck before and nothing happening, and it was like, is this really life? And it's not, because if you're sitting there and you're not doing anything and nothing's happening to you, then you're not fully living life. Sometimes you have to do stuff, shake stuff up. Stress is good for life, because let me tell you something about living. If you don't create some form of stress in your life to stimulate you, life will create stresses to stimulate you, whether it's your health, your relationships, your finances, or any other part of your life. If you don't have a stressor or create one for yourself, believe me, you'll have a stressor, and it will be one that is not within your control and not manageable. Okay? So that's my, I would say 2 cents, but it was more like 20 cents. And you know, this is my first YouTube video about this, so it's probably gonna be a little rough and choppy, and hopefully the quality of the videos will get better as time goes by. But yeah, thank you for watching, and subscribe, comment. Isn't that what they say on the YouTube channels? Subscribe, comment, put the little ringer of the bell on, and I will provide more content as I get it. Okay? Thank you for watching. See you soon.